Okay, so you want to talk about chores. We've all been there, right? Like, it should be simple to split things up fairly, but then it's like, bam, a relationship tension. Get ready for some aha moments, because we're doing a deep dive into some research on chores and relationships. And honestly, it gets surprisingly deep.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
At the surface, it might seem like just a matter of like keeping your house clean, but it actually gets at some really fundamental aspects of relationships.
Okay, so give it to me straight. Why are chores such a big deal for couples?
Well, think about it. When you're dividing up chores, it's not just about the task itself. Like, it's not just about taking out the trash or doing the dishes. It's really about what those tasks represent.
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
Yeah, so when you're sharing those chores equally,
Mm-hmm.
it does obviously reduces resentment, right? Because you feel like you're both pulling your weight. But it also really importantly builds this sense of being a team, working towards a shared goal, which is a really healthy thing for a relationship.
Yeah, you want to feel like you're in this together, right? Like, not like I'm your roommate and I'm keeping track of like whose turn it is to like buy toilet paper.
Exactly. And I think it gets at why this research is so fascinating, because it shows that that feeling of shared responsibility, of feeling like you're contributing equally, that directly contributes to overall relationship satisfaction.
That makes a lot of sense. But I'm curious, like, what does the research say about when things go wrong? Because let's be real, it's not always smooth sailing in the chore department.
Oh, absolutely not. And the research actually goes really in depth on this point.
Hmm.
One of the biggest things they highlight is that, we all have different standards of cleanliness.
Oh, tell me about it. I feel like I've had a million arguments about the right way to load the
Oh,
dishwasher.
yeah, the dishwasher loading. That's a classic one.
Or acid.
Because right is so subjective, right?
Totally.
Like one person might prioritize efficiency, like they just want to get it done quickly.
Yep.
And then the other person is like, no, it has to be aesthetically pleasing and like
Hmm.
organized in a certain way.
Yeah. And that's when the arguments start.
Exactly. And the research found that was like a really, really common source of conflict.
So, okay, what can we do about it? Because
Yeah.
I'm sure our listeners are like, okay, that's interesting, but like, how do I actually avoid having these like dishwasher battles in my own life?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you're not going to completely eliminate disagreements, but
The research did offer some really practical advice. One of the things that they highlighted was the importance of creating a chore chart.
okay, a chore chart, I feel like I've tried that before and it always like falls apart after a week.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. They weren't talking about just like any old chore chart.
Okay.
They emphasized the need to create a chart that's really tailored to each individual and each couple.
Okay, so like how do you actually do that?
So instead of just like dividing the tasks down the middle like you might do with a roommate,
Right.
you really want to think about like each person's preferences and strengths.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so for example, let's say you have one partner who absolutely hates doing dishes.
I think we all know that person.
Yeah, right. But they find yard work like almost therapeutic.
Okay.
And then you have the other partner who finds like a sense of peace and calm in a sparkling clean sink.
I can relate to that one.
Right. So in that case, it makes a lot more sense for the second partner to take on the dishes and the first partner to handle the yard work.
Yeah, that's way better than just like flipping a coin every week to decide who's stuck with the dishes.
Exactly. It's about leveraging those individual preferences to create a system that feels more harmonious for everyone.
I love that idea.
And this can apply to like so many different aspects of household management. Like maybe one person is a whiz with finances, but they're dreadful at remembering birthdays or like sending thank you notes.
Oh, been there.
Right.
Hmm.
So in that case, it makes sense for them to handle the bills and maybe like the grocery shopping.
Right.
And then the other partner can take on those more like social and emotional tasks.
So it's really about recognizing that equal doesn't have to mean identical, right? Exactly. It's about finding a balance where both partners feel like they're contributing equally, even if the tasks themselves look a little different.
That makes a lot of sense. But I'm also wondering, like, this isn't something you just do once and then you never have to talk about it again, right?
You're so right. And actually, that's another key finding from the research. They emphasize the importance of having regular check-ins about chores.
Okay, regular check-ins. What does that look like in practice?
Well, it doesn't have to be anything formal. Like, you
Yeah.
don't need to have like a monthly chore meeting with an agenda.
Okay, good, because that sounds kind of intense.
Yeah. It's more about just finding those natural moments in your week to kind of touch base and see how things are going.
Okay, so like how?
Well, the researchers actually gave a really good example. They talked about this one couple who would use their weekly grocery shopping trips as a time to chat about chores.
Okay, I kind of love that. It's like built-in couple time.
Exactly. And it creates this space where you can kind of casually bring up any issues or like make adjustments to your system as needed.
So it's really about building those open communication habits early on in your relationship.
Exactly. And shifting the mindset from like, whose turn is it,
Hmm.
to how can we support each other in managing our lives?
I love that. I feel like after this deep dive, what I'm realizing is that it's not really about the chores themselves, is it?
No, not really.
It's more about what the chores represent. It's
Exactly.
about respect, understanding, and teamwork.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's about creating a happier and healthier partnership.
So we've given you the tools. Now go forth and conquer those chores together. But before you do, here's something to ponder. If even those small, seemingly insignificant chores can cause so much friction in a relationship, imagine how much more important these communication strategies are when it comes to the big stuff, like finances, parenting decisions. Just something to think about.
Yeah.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.